do you think is the best strategy that you've put in place in your career that's made you a high-performing assistant?
Oh, that's a let's see. I can tell you some mistakes I've made that I wouldn't do over again.
Sometimes it's that, isn't
No,
it?
I won't do that.
Don't do that again.
I would say though that the number one thing for me has been something I've been doing for probably 20 years at least, and that is I call it the walkthrough. And so for me, it's whenever my executive is about to do something, um, whether it's the day ahead, I do a mental walkthrough of it. So I have a calendar alarm set at I think it's at 5 p.m. every day, and it's like walkthrough. And so I look at the next day and I think, okay, so this meeting is at 8 a.m. If I were my executive, what will I need to know before this meeting? Oh, I'll need to read the brief. Where's the brief? Let me make sure it's where we put all this briefing documents. Okay, great. Then the next one, oh, this is at a certain location. Did I put travel time in? How am I going to get there? I need to make sure he knows he needs to drive himself someplace. So doing that walkthrough it really makes me feel connected to him, because then if anything goes sideways, I have thought, oh, okay, what would I do if I were on the ground now and all of a sudden the car doesn't show up? I know, well, he'd call me, but it's sort of like, then what would I do? And sort of, so having that walkthrough, even with things like they're doing an event on stage someplace, where if I were going to stand on a stage and present a talk, would I memorize the talk or would I do it? Would I ad lib pieces of it? Do I need a teleprompter? Do I need note cards? And so really going through those walkthroughs and then having the conversation, what do you need? I was thinking you might need A, B, and C, but does that sound like what you would normally need for this? Do we need to explore other things? The walkthrough has been a real game changer for me.
Yeah, I think, getting to know my executive as crucially as possible, I think has been a game changer for me. I think also knowing my executive's blind spots, what are they not the best at? So for example, my exec is notorious for blowing meeting end times, right? So if there are instances where I know, because I've looked at her inbox, I understand the weight and the scope of whatever the meeting is, and I know, okay, you know what, this meeting is going over, not because of anything other than my exec is going to run overtime, right? Um, I'm going to course correct accordingly. I may, if there is an appointment after that, I may move it and block the next half an hour. Or in certain instances, if I'm making a game time decision and I have the capacity to do so, I'll shorten the meeting to 45 minutes or 50 minutes to give her some buffer, right? So I really think it is intimately knowing how your executive functions, what their challenges are, and being able to course correct appropriately. I really, really loved what Pam said about just doing the walkthrough. I tend to arrange my boss's schedule a few weeks or a month out. So I think, knowing what those bottlenecks are, being able to see around those corners, being able to anticipate those blind spots is hugely important. And I think it builds trust if you can learn to do that effectively.
And does she have any sense that you're doing that, or is it all done very smoothly?
Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. There's been instances where she'll say, "Hey, Andrew, like I saw like this meeting was before, like what happened to this meeting that was right after this one?" And I said, I'll usually, flag her ahead of time and say, "Hey, I'm moving this meeting, and I, wanted to give you some breathing room." One thing that I have noticed that I've done for her very early on was I send her every Friday afternoon, I will send her a key meeting email for the coming week. So any meetings that are coming up, because honestly, as Pam, I'm sure sometimes if meetings are kind of out a bit farther, they won't remember what the context is, who this person is, and you'll inevitably get a ping 5 minutes before the meeting and say, "Who is this person again?" So, I try to preempt that by in my key meeting ping saying, "Hey, here are your meetings. For those meetings that may have dropped off her radar, here's the context," and all of that. So I think it really does vary based upon your individual. So I would, kind of encourage everyone to figure out what your personal, strategy is. But I think those are a few things between what Pam and I said that could really kind of help, I think, get you to that point.
Absolutely. There's nothing worse than not knowing if you arranged the meeting or the other person arranged the meeting.
Exactly.
That's so helpful. That's so helpful, because that just stops a whole awkward couple of minutes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,